Folks, welcome to the podcast, our journey log, a podcast by Lady Aviator Beth. This is the podcast you have wanted to listen to. This is the one you want. If you're in professional aviation or if you're aspiring to it, we have the perfect guest today, Captain David Tatum. Now, I didn't do this, but I'm going to open up by teasing you, David.
Uh-oh.
We had David send his bio over. And there was a
and I didn't have a bio. I had to make a bio just for that.
Yeah, okay, even better. This supports my point well. He makes his bio, he sends it to us, and in one header of odd jobs. Okay, when you think of odd jobs, listeners, like me, you're thinking paint the fence, clean the gutters, mow the lawn. Okay, odd jobs. This is his view of odd jobs. Chief pilot, DFW.
Yeah, you know.
For those who don't know, DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth, is the biggest pilot base at the biggest airline. Dallas-Fort Worth is so big that it has its own postal code. So, odd job, chief pilot, DFW. Second odd job for this slacker, underachiever here. Director of Pilot Recruiting and Development. For 4 years, hired all the pilots, probably 10,000 pilots. Third odd job, Boeing 787 Check Pilot. $280 million jet, folks. That's an odd job being a check pilot on that thing. So enough of my ribbing. David, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I will truly stop teasing you. I want you to tell me a bit about your background, how you got into the aviation industry, and who were your inspirations in the field of aviation.
Well, this is probably going to disappoint you even more than my odd jobs. But if I told you what got me into aviation, people are going to laugh all over the place. But so I was in high school, 1988, 89, somewhere around there. And I watched Top Gun, and here I am. Nope, never got a cool helmet. I don't talk with my hands. Never flown a fighter plane, but it really honestly was Top Gun in high school. And that's kind of what got me into flying. I watched Top Gun as a junior in high school. I'm like, that's pretty awesome. I'd love to do that. Here I am at 52 going, that's pretty awesome. I'd love to do that. But it was like the catalyst that really just got me to go out and take a discovery flight. And I knew nothing about aviation. I knew nothing about flying. I had no relatives, no neighbors, nothing, nobody around me. So that's really what got me started. So I guess, is Tom Cruise my mentor? I've never actually said that before.
Maybe, that's right. He cleared the... That's great. Well, you mentioned discovery flight. Let's dig into that a little bit more. For those who don't know what a discovery flight is, what is it? Where do you do it? And if someone is watching saying, I want to do that, where do they go?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's the best place to get started for anybody out there that's thinking about becoming a pilot, maybe wondering about it, curious about it. I've heard it. They just don't know what the next step. The next step is always going to be just go take a discovery flight. Sometimes referred to just as an introductory flight. Every local flight school, any flight school you find is going to have an ability to give you a discovery flight. And that's really simply exactly like the name describes. It's just an opportunity to go out and get in an airplane like this, as a Cessna 172 or something similar, and have somebody just kind of demonstrate to you what it might look like to go train and be a pilot. Usually it's just 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour at the most of flying around and a general familiarization. And it is probably what will get you addicted to this hobby / profession.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, now, you've done all this pilot hiring for years. You are the best person to talk to for someone who's saying, if I want to get into this, what do I do? So tell me, let's talk civilian path and military path. Give us the basic blueprint for the civilian or the military path to professional aviation.
Sure. Well, thank you. And I'm probably not the best person to talk to. I'm just a person.
Okay,
There's a
if
lot
you're
of
in the
people
top
out there,
five, we'll take
a
it.
lot of my peers out there, and my predecessor, Corey, that's doing the pilot recruiting job now. They're probably better at this than I am. But but yeah, it's a great question, and one that I'm often asked is the civilian route versus the military route. So and I'm actually a great example of that because what I just told you what got me started was the military route, and to this day I still have never flown in the military, and I think I'm a little too old now. I don't think they're going to take me. So there's no right or wrong way. I mean, each path will get you an incredible career and a lot of rewarding things along each journey along the way. Um, a lot of it kind of depends on what your motives are and what it is that appeals to you as far as flying. And if someone has a desire to, serve our country and fly and transport category, C-17 and mission like flying like that, then the military is an excellent route. That's not for everybody, or it's not accessible to everybody, and not everybody gets
Sure.
accepted into that route, which is great because there is the civilian route, which almost anybody can do, quite honestly. It's accessible to everybody, and that's really the benefit of civilian aviation is it's accessible and available really to anybody that wants to pursue it.
Well, speaking of that path, David, there used to be a requirement to have a 4-year college degree, but
Yeah,
that got dropped a few years back.
yeah,
Now,
it sure did.
for folks who don't know this industry, something kind of unique here is everything is based on seniority, right?
Right.
How fast you advance, whether you're in the captain seat or the FO seat, the vacations you get, everything this quality of life is
Yeah.
seniority based. Is the faster path now going the civilian route?
Yeah, if that's the metric that we're looking at,
Mhm.
speed to get there, then definitely the civilian route. And the civilian route,
Okay.
you're achieving these ratings and these certifications for yourself to go be marketable to other companies. Where
Right.
you go the
Right.
military route, they're paying to train you, and they're paying you to do the job. So you got to give a little return on their investment to them. So you're obviously going to
Right.
be at the military serving for a while. So because of that alone, it's certainly faster to go the civilian route. And you're
Good.
right, the college degree is no longer really required. Over the years, it has kind of, when we all got hired, you had to. It didn't matter what the degree was in, but you had to have a 4-year degree. And
Right.
today, it's becoming less and less prevalent as the major airlines have dropped that requirement.
Sure. Good. Oh, David, this is going great. I'm loving hearing this from you. We're going to dive in a little bit more. I just wanted to pause real briefly and thank the creator of this podcast, Captain Beth Powell. Awesome job putting this together. Everybody in this industry appreciates getting the deep dive into how to get into this career. And our project manager, Alan, wonderful having your support with this.
Yeah, okay.
So let's jump into you a little bit personally. You have not only excelled as a pilot, but you've held leadership roles in recruitment and as a check pilot.
Odd
How did
jobs.
you learn? Oh yeah, these little odd jobs. Yeah, I wish you would get some motivation there, David. You are such an underperformer. But how did you learn about these opportunities, and what steps did you take to advance your career beyond just being a pilot? And I shouldn't say just being a pilot. It's a full time pursuit being a pilot in one of these fleet types. But how did you get there? Line pilot to chief pilot, check pilot.
Well, I would be willing to bet that there's not any of us out there that aspired to do any of these other odd jobs. Every single one of us that are pilots, we just long to fly. We all started down this road to become pilots, and deep down in our core, that's what we are. We always will be as pilots. But any organization, whether it's the military or a big corporate entity like American Airlines, has to have other jobs to help the operation. And
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I've never aspired for any of those jobs, and I've never really even asked to do any of those jobs. And I would tell anybody that's young, maybe coming into the airline, and they're maybe interested in things like this, is just show up and have a good attitude and do your job and do it the best that you can. And over time, you're going to get asked. You won't have to
Yeah.
ask for any of these jobs. You'll get asked. And, and anybody that's had a leadership role in the military or in any job knows that people in those roles are constantly looking for people to help them. And what
Love
stands
that.
out in people when I was looking for somebody to help me is your attitude. Someone with a good attitude, a positive attitude, someone that's personable, that genuinely wants to help other people. Those opportunities will come about. And that's really honestly how they came about for me. I was just invited to be a part of something, and that something ended up turning into something much more over
Yeah.
time. But at my core, I'm just a pilot. I tell people all the time, I'm just a pilot. So.
But I love that. I mean, that's great advice that it goes well beyond the aviation industry. No matter what you want to get into, show up, have a positive attitude, do the work. I love that. That really applies universally. Great stuff, David. So all of our guests will get specific questions just as you have had, but we have some general questions that we're throwing at absolutely everybody. So you ready to take a crack at our general questions?
Go for it.
Got you
I'll do my
warmed
best.
up here. All right. David, Captain David Tatum, in your opinion, what is the best way to start the journey toward becoming a pilot? I think you referred to that earlier, but
yeah,
best way to start the journey, step one.
Yeah, absolutely. Step one is to take that discovery flight that we're talking about. If you haven't done that already, it's imperative. You have
Very
to
good.
find a local flight school and take that discovery flight. And one thing that I find that people often get hung up on, especially in today's time, there's so much pressure on young people to know what they're going to do with their life. I know I have a lot of kids myself. I have 6 kids, and young kids, especially in high school, everybody's asking, "What are you going to do? What?" And I would recommend, don't worry about figuring all that out. Just go take that first flight, and when you taste it and decide that you like it, make your goal just to become a private pilot and nothing else.
Love it.
I want to be
that.
a private pilot and achieve becoming a private pilot. And along that journey, you'll start to figure out what this actually means for you and what you will become as a pilot, because not everybody ends up doing the same thing. And there's a lot of opportunities in aviation other than just the things like that I do.
Great. Excellent advice. I like that. So folks, you heard it there, Discovery Flight. That's where you get your start. All right. Next, question 2 of our 4 general questions. You're doing very well so far. We don't grade these, but if we did, you'd be in the A position. What advice do you have for someone who is just beginning their aviation career? So they've got a logbook, they've got some flight time going. Now what? What advice?
Yes, this is an easy one. It has nothing to do with flying.
Okay.
Relationships matter. Like, I cannot emphasize to you how much relationships matter. They matter as much, if not more, than your ability to fly an airplane. Build relationships with everybody. Make friends with everybody. Help everybody around you. You will be amazed. It's often said for pilots that's been in the industry for a long time, like I have, is that it's a small world. You will constantly come across people that you've crossed paths with, that you learn to fly with. Everybody that you pass in that flight school, every instructor, every student that's below you, an instructor that's above you, make friends along the way and take care of the people around you. I promise you, promise you that the people around you, you're going to see them a lot over the next decades, and relationships really help.
That is great. And, like other advice you've given, that's universal.
It is
I don't
very
if you're working
universal.
at a Fortune 500 company, if you're working at a burger joint, the relationships. Love that. All right. Doing very well. Question number 3.
Can I add to that one just one little point?
Of course.
I like to throw this in there because I think about this a lot. We talk about networking, and everybody talks about networking. And usually when I say networking, what does the other person think of? They think of, who can I get to know that will help me? That's what people think of when they think of networking. And I challenge people to think, when you think networking, reverse that. And instead of being the networker that's looking around for people that can help you, I think of it in that way, which will happen naturally. Network with people that you can help, and think about who can you help. And if you spend your time in your career out looking around for people that you can actually help achieve their goals, their dreams, help them be successful, and if your networking is focused on helping other people, you'll be amazed at how much help you actually get. So that's
That
my,
is great. I'm glad you added that. Thank you so much. All right. For those who are already in the industry, so we're notching this up one step at a
okay.
time, but going to the same thing, and they want to work for a major airline or go into a pilot management role, what advice do you have for them? So now they got the logbook, they got the time, they're professional pilots, they've got ratings, they're ready to go to work. What advice do you give that person that wants to go to your Delta, your American, United, your FedEx?
Yeah, well, so they're already working at an airline, trying to find other opportunities within the airline. Is that the
Yeah,
question?
they're trying to upgrade to the bigs.
Okay. Um, it is a very competitive industry out there, obviously, but the good thing is the supply and demand is working in your advantage. So thanks
Yes,
to countless pilots retiring and airlines constantly trying to expand their reach, there is an opportunity. So first and foremost, there's no way around not being qualified. Know
right.
the job that you want. Make sure that you're very clear of what those requirements are, and make that top on your list. If that airline requires you have an X amount of certain type of flight time, make that your number one priority, because it doesn't matter what other accolades you might have in life if you don't meet those requirements. So I think that's paramount, making sure that you have those exact requirements.
And let me interrupt you real quickly there, David. How do you find out? Like, if someone's at that position and they want to find out, well, what specific flight time or what ratings, what
Yeah.
kind of profile is American or Delta looking for? How do you get that information?
The best way to get it and get it all at once is to attend some of these large job fairs, which have
Okay,
really gained a lot of momentum in the last decade. And few that come to mind are the Women in Aviation and OBAP and RTAG. There's so many of them. You probably a simple Google search of Aviation Expo is
right.
going to reveal what's around you. And often at these places, you can meet a lot of people. You can learn about specifically what that airline's looking for at the time. What you
Great.
want is current information, because a lot of times if you ask guys like us, you know, we might be thinking of what they were requiring a year ago, and it's
Right.
such a dynamic, fluid hiring environment that this stuff changes. So I think hiring expos are an excellent
Yes.
way to stay up. Joining these organizations is an excellent way, and really just going directly to the websites of these pilot hiring companies.
Great. And for our listeners and viewers, just to get to some of the alphabet soup, David mentioned OBAP, that's Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals. You mentioned Women in Aviation. They use WAI, Women in Aviation International. And you mentioned RTAG. What is RTAG?
Yeah, RTAG is it's an organization that helps transition military pilots to the civilian world, and they're
Great.
very very effective too. Great networking, a bunch of passionate military guys trying to help out their brothers and sisters in the military
Good
transition
deal.
to flying jobs in the civilian world.
All right. One more. Can you handle one more
Oh
question?
yeah,
Have I worn
yeah.
you out? You got it in you? All right. What are the biggest lessons you have learned during your time in the aviation industry? I know it's a broad question.
Yeah,
What are your biggest lessons?
that is a broad question. I could kind of break that into two pieces, like the maybe the pilot skills part of it, and then the
Yes.
personal side of it. And as far as a pilot, and this really is pretty universal too, I've really learned from being a student for a long time and also being an instructor, kind of being on both sides of the table. Uh, you can't overemphasize being prepared as a pilot, no matter
Right.
what it is, whether it's just going flying for the day or going for training, initial training, recurrent training, just being prepared, and being prepared is on us.
Yes.
I mean, if you're watching this, that's on you. No one, you can't blame anybody for not being prepared. These airlines provide us everything that we need to prepare ourselves. So be prepared. Just be ultra prepared for every time you go fly. Go fly tomorrow. I'm going to start preparing for where I'm going tomorrow, because I've only been there once before. Today, just be very, very prepared. Do everything you can to stay prepared. And then the other half, the relational part of it, not to sound too repetitive, but take care of the people around you. That will go incredibly far. And even the small things, just always be trying to take care of the people around you, whether that's your training partner, that you're maybe are flying with in your training. Maybe that's the flight attendants, the other pilots that you're with. Everywhere around you, just be looking for opportunities. And it doesn't take much, just small little gestures of taking care of the people around you. I think that's probably, you combine those two things, you're going to have a pretty good career.
Awesome. Superb. Captain David Tatum, thank you so much. This is great. Our listeners are going to benefit from this inside scoop about the industry. You've been a wonderful guest on our Journey Log, a podcast by Lady Aviator Beth. We get into aviation history and the pathways, where we're going. How do you get there? Things just like what we talked about with Captain Tatum. Listeners, I invite you to share your stories. So contact us if you want to include your stories or stories of others you know on aviation history or the pathways to aviation. Let us know. Captain Tatum, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day and continue your path of excellence.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this sample of the Our Journey Log podcast. To access this full episode, please subscribe to Pilot Pathways at ladyaviatorbeth.com.